Hello, BookTube. Sorry for the odd angle and for the, I noticed, good lord, the unshaven appearance. Uh, but I thought I'd do the mail because the mail is going to have a massive interruption on this channel. Frida and I are leaving Boston for the Thanksgiving holiday, not just the day itself, but many days. So there will be no mail, probably for the rest of this week. And we've got some to go over here, plus a box. So let's see what we have to sort of say goodbye to the mail for now. The Bean and I are going on an adventure. It's always a lot of fun. It's nice to have a dog I can go on adventures with. Let's see. Oh, okay. All right, this is a 2020 book from Grove Atlantic. This is comes out in May. It is by Samantha Harvey, and it's called The Shapeless Unease, a year of not sleeping. This happened to the author, and she chronicled it. In 2016, Samantha Harvey began to lose sleep. Quite a few people did in 2016. She tried everything to appease her wakefulness, from medication to therapy, changes in her diet to changes in her living arrangements. Nothing seemed to help. The Shapeless Unease is her darkly funny and deeply intelligent anatomy of her insomnia, an immersive interior monologue of a year without one of the most basic human needs. Original and profound, and narrated with a lucid breathlessness, this is a startlingly insightful exploration of time, memory, writing, and influence from someone the Telegraph refers to as this generation's Virginia Woolf. Let's leave that aside and just say that this is going to be fascinating to me. Of course it is. It's going to be fascinating to me. We'll see. I mean, much will depend on the author's eloquence, but the subject interests me because I don't sleep as much as a normal person does. So I automatically feel invested in books about sleep or the lack of sleep. That's 2020. I wonder if these will all be 2020. Oh my. Yeah, this is a 2020 book from the folks at Princeton University Press. Let's see here. This is a March release. This is by Daniel Gillian, and it's called The Loud Minority: Why Protests Matter in American Democracy. And it comes out on March 10th, 2020, in the heart of the 2020 primaries. It's a new book that will forever change the way you think about protests. The case studies from the 1960s to the present, with a special focus on Black Lives Matter. While some people might think protests are one-off events and have no lasting impacts, the author of this book shows that protests actually affect who runs for office, how people view issues, and perhaps most important during an election season, voter turnout, and much more. I don't believe that any of those claims are factually true. Not one of them. I don't believe that there's any factual basis to any of those claims. So this book will have a lot to teach me, or it will infuriate me. I don't believe that protests affect any of those things. But let's see. The silent majority, a phrase coined by Richard Nixon in 1969 in response to the Vietnam War protests and later used by Donald Trump as a campaign slogan, refers to the supposed wedge that exists between protesters in the streets and voters at home. The loud minority upends this view by demonstrating that voters are in fact directly informed and influenced by protest activism. I do not believe that. They are directly affected, but they're not informed. They hate protesters. A large protest will cement their vote in the opposite direction. The internecine strife in America is no longer about political beliefs. It's no longer about whether or not your political beliefs align with Democrat or Republican tickets. That is totally irrelevant. Now it's about kinds of people. There's a kind of person that you hate. They condescend to you. They feel superior to you. They think they're better than you. And on the other side of the coin, there's a kind of person you hate because they insist on not informing themselves, because they embrace their prejudices. This has nothing to do with politics anymore. It's them. It's them. It's I'm going to vote against my own self-interest. I've got a candidate running for office who is promising as his campaign platform to gut my health care. And I'm going to vote for him anyway because he's the candidate who hates them and they hate him. And this is all tribal. And when you think, if that is true, then protests can only hurt the worth of democracy, of democratic representation. But the author could prove me wrong. The author is probably more of an expert than I am. So let's just charge on here. Let's see what this next one is. This is from NYU Press. Oh my, okay, this is a February 2020 release. This is Fear Itself, The Causes and Consequences of Fear in America, by Christopher Bader, Joseph Baker, L. Edward Day, and Ann Gordon. I think we saw this on this channel already, didn't we? Another example of this? From moral panics surrounding immigration and gun control to omnipresent anxieties about child safety and terrorist attacks, the United States has become a culture of fear. Social science suggests that fear negatively impacts decision-making abilities, influencing voters during elections, causing anxiety, depression, and reduced physical health, and corrodes communities. Meanwhile, some actively take advantage of fear. Yes, some do. Some get elected on it. Politicians leverage fear to garner votes, while companies market unnecessary products to consumers, promising protection from exaggerated harms. And this book purports to be the first serious scholarly study of the causes, content, and consequences of fear in American society. Okay, all right, so another 2020 book, another Trump book. Okay, so we will see. We will see. Fear in America is going to feature prominently in the 2020 primaries. And let's see, this next one feels a little odd. Oh, great. Okay, it feels odd for a reason. It's odd in the best possible way. This is from the Martha's Vineyard Gazette. Broadside, an old-style broadside newspaper published on Martha's Vineyard, an island off the coast of Massachusetts, where I am the book reviewer. And this is one of my next books. Interesting. Okay, so this is self-published, and this is a naked hardcover. This is Patriot or Traitor, The Death of a Scientist by David Roseman. I don't know if this is what the book is going to look like if you ordered it, but let's see here. On December 1941, 2 days before the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor, a physicist, a member of a committee charged with advising the president whether building an atomic bomb is in time for use in a war is feasible, is cut down by a taxi driver by U.S. intelligence. All right, well, the back cover copy is incoherent, and that is bad because that betokens that maybe the book was not looked over thoroughly. I mean, that is first of all, the sentence is a mess. It's got 10 dependent clauses, but it ends with is cut down by a taxi driver by a U.S. intelligence agent. A taxi driven by a U.S. intelligence agent. His death is ruled an accident. 49 years later, the Chief Justice of the United States, during World War II, an intelligence agent undercover as a White House aide, is shot to death. A German, a professional hitman, is charged with the murder. After trial, a verdict is returned. But did it speak the truth? Okay, well, I would have written that back copy a lot different, but the time period is fascinating. So we will see. This is a 2019 book, so that'll be for the Vineyard Gazette, and then we've got the box, and then we'll be done with the mail, and then I don't know what to say about the mail for the foreseeable future. We shall see. Let's see. This is practically hammered together with iron rivets. Practically, that's what this is. And there isn't any reason for it, since I guarantee this came from less than 2 states away. So you could have put it in a mailing envelope, and it would still have reached me in time. But we shall see. Okay, it's only one book, and I can see already from the pub sheet that it's a late December release. So let's see what we have here. Oh, okay. Okay, this is the finished copy of something I think we've seen already. This is Michael Hicks's book, Richard III, with the hilarious subtitle, Self-Made King. Which is certainly one way to put it. The reign of Richard III, the last Yorkist king and the final monarch of the Plantagenet dynasty, marked a turning point in British history. Despite his lasting legacy, however, Richard only ruled as king for the final 2 years of his life. While much attention has been given to his short reign, Michael Hicks explores the whole of Richard's fascinating life and traces the unfolding of his character and career from his early years as the son of a duke to his violent death at the Battle of Bosworth. Hicks explores how Richard, villainized for his imprisonment and improbable killing of the princes, that meaning his nephews, the princes in the tower, applied his experience to overcome numerous setbacks and adversaries. Well, yes, he did overcome numerous setbacks, and he overcame numerous adversaries, almost all of whom were duly anointed monarchs of the realm. So it's a different word for you when the adversaries that you overcome are all your monarchs. You're not self-made then. Let's see here. Richard proves a complex, conflicted individual whose Machiavellian tact and strategic foresight won him a kingdom. No, no, that is not true. Fratricide won him a kingdom. There was something Machiavellian about it, but there was no strategic foresight. He killed everyone between him and the throne. Anyway. He was a reformer who planned big changes, but lost the opportunity to fulfill them and retain his crown. Okay, if you say so. All right, well, this is going to be the 80 millionth time that I actually argue with a Richard III biography. I do it all the time. I do it for fun. I do it for kicks. So this is a late November release. This is Richard III. Self-made king. Then we have Patriot or Traitor, a historical novel by David Roseman. We have Fear Itself, a study about fear in American society. We have The Loud Minority, in which the author positively assesses the impact of mass protests. And The Shapeless Unease by Samantha Harvey, about the year in which she had an enormous amount of trouble sleeping. So a typical variety, but only 2 of which I can get to in this year. So I'm going to wrap this up, and I'm going to dig right into both of the hardcovers, one for work and one for play. Tearing apart Richard III and his latest cockeyed defender is always fun. So I will dig into those. I'll wrap this up for now, but I'll be back in some form or other. Thank you, Book 2.